going to start off just by just a general loose all around sort of the front and side of the hip area by coming over onto all fours and just slowly and with control bring your right leg out to the outside of your hands. And that slow and control is important there. Really want to work on smoothing that movement out. When the foot's placed on the outside of the hands, gently walk the knee and toe of the left leg backwards, letting the hips sink down towards the floor. Aim on keeping the right knee over that right foot. From here, we'll just untuck that back toe slightly, and now we're going to rock back and just take the hips backwards a little. That's so we can turn that left leg so that now the foot is underneath the backside. Come on up from there. Right hand out on the right knee, left hand up on this hip, and now we're just going to drop the hips back down. So we're really working through the inner thigh here. I tend to feel this mostly on the inner thigh on my left leg. You might feel it right up through that right leg as well. So from here, just let the hips sink forward and down. And just let little pulsing movements happen here. We're really just warming up the whole area, having a bit of an explore, feeling what our movement or our range is like this evening. So just slowly pulsing those hips. Think about pulsing it forwards and down, so we've got this 45-degree angle. Just loosening up through the inner thigh area. And then come back out of there. Rotate the back leg, so now we're pointing out at about 45 degrees. Again, same position, back into an upright position. Drop the hips down and slowly pulsing forwards. Thinking about dropping the hips low as you pulse. So now we've moved slightly out of that inner thigh area, but we're not quite on the front of the thigh yet, somewhere in between. Just exploring how this feels this evening. Again, slow and controlled. Not pushing anything at all that we do to pain. Slowly come back out of there. Turn that foot all the way around now so it's pointing directly behind you. Bring both hands to the inside of the front foot. Let the hips sink forward. Just gently pull that left hip slightly forward in this position. Again, little pulses down here. Still slow and controlled, but just feeling out how this range feels. And then come back from there slightly. We're going to continue to roll towards the left, trying to get the outside of the left leg down on the floor as much as possible. Posting up on your left hand, let the hips sink down low as you push the shoulder towards the floor, lifting the chest up nice and high. And then again, little pulses. Try bringing that hip, the left side of the hip, just closer to the floor, still keeping the chest up nice and high in this position. So now we're really starting to get around towards the outside of the thigh, up into more that TFL or money pocket area. And slowly come back over and out of there. Give that a gentle little wriggle around. And then we'll do it on the other side. This time your left leg, slowly with control, place it to the outside of your hands. Walk the right knee and toe backwards, letting the hips sink down towards the floor. Aim on keeping that left knee above the left heel. Let the hips sink down, untuck the toes at the back. Then from here, just rock the hips backwards slightly so that you can rotate your right leg so that the heel or the foot comes underneath the backside. Lift yourself up, left hand out on that front knee, right hand on the hip, and then just slowly bring yourself forward and down. Think about moving the hips forward and down to start to stretch out through the inner thigh or adductor area. And again, little pulses just down here. Keeping these pulses under control. We really want to be using these muscles that we're stretching to start to lift us back out of each pulse. Gently come out of there, rotate that back leg, so now it's out at 45 degrees, hands back in position, hips move forward and down here. Once you've reached your low point, think about dropping the hips low into your pulse, and then using those muscles that we're stretching to lift yourself out of that pulse. Slowly bring yourself back up out of there. Rotate so that that foot is now pointing directly behind you. Hands come down onto the floor in the inside of the left leg. Gently pull the right hip slightly forward. Let the hips sink towards the floor. And again, little pulsing movements down here. Just think about taking those hips further towards the floor with each movement. Really just an exploration, really feeling the body out. How does it feel? How does this side compare to the other side? Slow and controlled pulses here. Gently come back from there. Rock all the way over so that you're starting to get the outside of that right leg down on the floor. Your right hand acts as a post. Let the hips sink low to the floor as you push the right shoulder down, lifting the chest up nice and high. Keep the chest high, so now we start to bring that right hip closer to the floor. Starting to really work on that TFL area in this stretch. Again, it's just gentle pulsing movements. Really just exploring the range for today. And slowly come back up out of there. Give that a little wriggle around. Check in with the body. How's it all feeling? We're going to come out into a long lunge from this position. So from here, I'm really going to reach my right leg way out in front so that heel is a long way out from where the knee is. Walk back knee and toe, the left knee and toe backwards. My weight's going through the heel on my right foot and through the ball of the toe on my left foot. If you need to, you can keep your hands down on the floor. If that's too far away, grab a chair or something like that on either side and just use that as support. Or if you can, come on up and let your arms come away from the floor, so that now we're taking all the weight through the lower leg, still taking most of the weight through that left knee in this position. Let the hips sink as low as you can here. And now we're going to do pulses again. Our pulses are driving that knee, that left knee, down into the floor. We're really driving that down to lift the hips up. So we bring that knee forward and then drop the hips back down. Bring the knee forward and drop down. So it's a slow and controlled lift up with our drop back down, trying to sink lower each time. So to bring that knee forward, think about engaging all of the muscles around the hips. It's the hip flexors that are really pulling the knee through, but we still need to stabilize using the glutes as we lift up here. So it's a slow and controlled pulse as we just come up and down from this position. Again, if you need to have support, something for your hands to give you a little extra support here, then feel free to use something. 2 chairs either side. Slowly lifting up and drop back down. And this becomes quite a workout as well for the hips, as the hips are really working to stabilize you in this extended range. Slowly lifting up and back down. And drop that back down. Slowly come on out of there. Gentle wriggle around, do whatever it takes for the body to feel good right now. Except for, switching off or watching something on YouTube. Take your left leg out in front. Walk it out so that foot is a long way in front of the knee. Walk the right knee and toe backwards, keeping the heel of the left foot down on the floor, the ball of the right foot down on the floor, and the right knee is down on the floor. Let the hips sink low. Use any support that you need, or free the hands and just come on up. Let the hips sink down, and now drive that right knee into the floor to lift you up out of this position. It's still slow and controlled. We still need good engagement of the glutes to stabilize this position. And it's that knee driving forwards that pulls the hips away from the floor here. And again, it can feel like quite a workout. If you need to, just use a chair either side. Slow and controlled, working on smoothing this movement out, keeping it as stable as you can. Start to lift the hips up away from the floor. Think about trying to get deeper each time you sink back down. And drop the hands back down. Gently bring yourself back out of there. Fold on up, do whatever it takes to feel good for a moment. Just let that sink in to your body. Don't be jumping from one thing to the next. Give it time, as much time as it needs for your body to start to process what is going on there. Now we're going to use a wall for our next stretch to target the hip flexors, and I'm going to do that by taking one leg up. I'm going to work my right leg again, just because it works better for the camera. So my right leg, knees going as close to the wall as I can get it, with that foot going straight up. Now to begin with, you might find that your knee is actually coming away from the wall, and if it's coming away a fair bit and it puts a lot of pressure up around the toes, you can just turn that ball of the foot over and support yourself by pushing the ball of the foot into the wall. Otherwise, get your knee as close as you can towards the wall, foot going straight up towards the wall. Now my left leg reaches out in front, back into a lunge position here. Let the hips sink down towards the floor. Gently pull that right hip forward to square the hips up. If this is comfortable, we can load this up a little more by placing the hands out on the left leg and starting to lift the chest up high. If you do that, keep your hips low. Don't just bring your hips up to get your chest high. Hips stay right down in their starting position, and then just your chest moves up high here. Have a few breaths in this position. First thing we're going to do is engage the glutes on the right hand side to try and move our hips down and forward here. So squeeze the glutes. Think about driving your hips forwards and down by engaging those glutes. Still keep some engagement through the glutes now while you push the foot into the wall, strongly driving that foot back into the wall as strong as you can. for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Have a breath, and as you breathe out, see if you can sink a little deeper. Still keeping some glute engagement here and give us a bit of stability. Next, we're going to drive this right knee forwards through the floor. So strongly pull that right knee all the way through the floor for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, take a breath. As you breathe out, let the hips sink even deeper. And then breathe down into your belly. Slowly bring the hands back down onto the floor and then gently come on out of there. Again, just give it a wriggle, fold on up, take a moment to let that sink in. And we will do the other side. So it is left knee this time that is going back as close to the wall as you can. Again, if your knee's a long way out and you need to turn that foot over to push the ball of the foot into the wall to be more comfortable, feel free to do that. Otherwise, knee goes back as close as it can. Foot is pointing straight up the wall. Bring your right leg out to the outside of your hands. Drop your hips down nice and low. Here, let the hips sink nice and low. This side's already feeling tight on me today. Pull your left hip slightly forward to square the hips up. So you can stay down in this position with your hands down on the floor if this is enough for you. Otherwise, keeping the hips low, start to bring your hands up on the knee. Lift the chest up nice and high, keeping the hips down low as you lift the chest up high. Engage your glutes on the left hand side. Use those glutes to help try and move your hips closer to the floor. Think about driving the hips down and forward as you engage the glutes on the left hand side. Keep some engagement through the glutes. You can back it off a little, but we still want some engagement for stability. And now push the left foot back into the wall, strongly pushing it into the wall for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, take a breath. As you breathe out, see if your hips will sink just a little lower. And now we're going to drag that left knee forwards through the floor, strongly working the hip flexors as you try and pull the knee forward for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, take a breath. As you breathe out, sink a little deeper here. Use those glutes to help you move closer to the floor with your hips. And then focus on breathing down into the belly. Slowly drop the hands back down. Bring yourself out of there. Give that a gentle little wriggle around. Whatever it takes to feel good. And there is 20 minutes of goodness for our hip flexors. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit like, hit share, let everyone know that this is happening, spread the word. Also check out integralmovement.xyz